I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And just an announcement that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed. So if the board will introduce themselves, starting with my left.
Oh, sorry. Tom Collins.
Robert Chambers,
Kim Cummings.
Joel Walker, Vice Chair.
Roberta Acer, Chair.
Paul, Planning Director.
Thank you, and I'm hoping we have another member arriving soon. I just heard one is stuck in traffic. Are there any announcements or communications? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of November 12th. Which are lengthy.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of November 12th, November 12th, 2024.
Motion by Rob,
Cool.
Joel, Tom.
I second it.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And Kim abstains? Thank you. Old business continued public hearings, there are none. Prior to the first public hearing that we have listed, we do need to do the merger request that has been put in to merge the road bed known as Shady Lane with map 675.
Yes.
And that's been submitted. We do need the originals because this cannot go to the registry. So I'm going to pass this out. So when the site plan was done for the parking lot expansion for Kathleen's Place, map 675, it went into the road bed, and they actually did an easement for that where they intruded onto the next lot. When they put this proposal in to merge, to do the lot line adjustment, the road bed was in between. So they needed to merge the road bed with lot 675 first. So that's why we got the merger request. All the right-of-ways, the right to pass and repass by all the people, the abutters, it stays in place. It doesn't change anything. They still have the same rights they did have. Instead of it being a separate piece of property, which was never assigned a map and lot number, it will become part of map 6, lot 75. And just so you know, that the planning board, and we need to bring it up at a later time, had previously had the planning director approving these, and we made an announcement that they were done. And prior to that, the former assessing clerk actually had been authorized to do the merger requests. Basically, it has to be a delineated either by map and lot number or by book and page number, and this property is identified by a book and page number. So anyway, I would entertain a motion to approve the merger request of map 675 with the road bed known as Shady Lane.
I'll make a motion that we approve the lot merger to combine the unidentified lot to, so was it, map 675, is that the front lot?
Yep, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Joel. Any more discussion, questions? This is strictly a technicality that needs to be taken care of. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Hmm?
I said I
Yeah, okay.
made the motion.
5-0, okay, well, I just, it's like, everybody just speaks up really clear. Okay, new business, and public hearing. Consideration of an application for a technical subdivision submitted by Graz Engineering on behalf of the Kingsway LLC, 104 Mark Street, Rindge, New Hampshire, and Rindge Rentals LLC of Rindge, New Hampshire, for property located at tax map 6, lot 7313 on Mark Street in the Res Ag and Gateway East zoning districts, and tax map 6, lot 75 on Route 119 and Shady Lane in the Gateway East zoning districts. The applicants are seeking approval for a lot line adjustment. So, with that, Al, would you like to read your
background information? Subject parcels, map 6, lot 75 and lot 73-13 are currently 5.615 acres and 14.091 acres respectively. Both parcels are legally conforming lots. Conducted a completeness review and determined that the applicant has provided the planning board with the information necessary to make a informed decision on this application.
Thank you. There needs to be an addition to the motion to accept. I think we have plenty of plans, considering we're short. Does anybody have any questions on the completeness, of the plans? Just one thing, the plans do not show the entirety of each lot. Both the Mark Street property and the 119 property have come before this board with complete surveys. So they have done a waiver request from section 5(1)(a)(2)(b), a waiver on not supplying surveys in the entirety of both parcels. So I think you can tell from the locus up in the corner what the lots look like. And 67313 is obviously a large lot, so they're going to be taking a few acres off of it. So if nobody has any questions, I would entertain a motion to.
So I just have a quick question. My property, what's it?
We are not in public hearing yet. This is just to accept it.
Yeah.
And determine what, if it's complete.
Yeah.
Then we go to public hearing.
Okay.
You'll have your chance.
I love this.
Anyway, since nobody has this written in their proposed motion, and I do, if there are no questions on completeness and whether this should be accepted, I'll make the motion since I wrote it down. Everybody good with that? I move to approve the waiver request from section 5(1)(a)(2)(b) and to accept the technical subdivision application for tax map 6, lot 7313 and tax map 6, lot 75 is substantially complete as presented. Second. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Votes 500 to accept. So, you want to continue, Al?
Regarding the application, the proposed technical subdivision is in the Gateway East and Residential Agricultural Zoning Districts. Plan requires a voluntary merger of Shady Lane with map 6, lot 75, which has been submitted. The proposed technical subdivision will change the lots as follows. Map 6, lot 75, existing is 5.615 acres. Parcel A will add 5.547 acres. The new size will be 11.162 acres. Map 6, lot 73-13. The existing size is 14.091 acres. Parcel A will take away 5.547 acres, and the new size will be 8.543 acres. I recommend approval of this technical subdivision subject to the following conditions. The plan requires a voluntary merger, which has been submitted and approved. Monumentation shall be set at the new lot corners as required. All applicable government permits shall be obtained. Prior, during, and after recording of this decision, the applicant shall be made aware that any conditions placed on this subdivision plan through other governmental or permitting agencies are hereby included in this approval. Approval by the Town of Ringe Planning Board in and of itself does not effectuate a change in lot line location. This approval recognizes that the lot configurations proposed are in conformance with the Town of Ringe ordinances and regulations or are otherwise accepted with non-conformances. The change in lot line location does not occur until such time as a deed transferring parcel A is recorded at Cheshire County Registry of Deeds. A copy of the recorded deed must be submitted to the Town of Ringe Assessing Office. The applicant or applicant's agent shall provide the planning office with an electronic copy of all approved plans.
Thank you. Okay, so, you are presenting?
Yes.
You-
All residents?
Oh, did everybody sign in? Ashley, I know you're always good. Can you please sign in? Thank you.
They've got two sheets there. One that shows all of the Kingsway parcel, lot 73-13. Right here, comes off of the Kingsway, called Mark Street. And it
Easier.
goes beyond the zoning, approximate zoning line right here. And it comes down to up against the Ringe Rentals property right here. So what we're proposing to do here is this lot, irregular shape. You can see it goes around this house lot right here. What we're proposing to do is draw a line right here and take this, and that's going to be going to Ringe Rentals, which you can see all the Ringe Rentals parcel on the second sheet there. So it's the land up here, north of the Ringe Rental property, Kathleen's place. And this would be the new lot line right here. So it's taking 5.5 acres away from this parcel, which would still be 14.1 acres now, and it's still going to be 8.5 acres after this parcel comes out. And that's the essence of it.
Yeah, I know, it's, Matt, what is it, 13.3?
73-13.
Oh, 13. It's an ugly lot down in that section anyway, but it's a little bit. So my question is, the tail end that's actually on Laterna Lane,
This will be right.
Yeah, so is that, does the state right away go out that far so that that part of Shady Lane is actually?
Yeah, the state right of way actually goes right to this point right here.
Wow.
Yeah.
They took a lot of land. It's like 202. Yeah, no, I was just curious because it's just such an odd,
No, wait a minute, I'm sorry. It's 35 feet beyond that one.
so it doesn't go,
35. It's 35 feet. Yeah, you can, on the sheet two, you can kind of see the line
yeah, I
of the
see
old
that.
maternal lane. So it's, once it gets up to the far end of the rental piece, there's not much left, maybe 20 feet or something. Of course, no one's using that section there.
Well, but wait a
Well,
minute, that's,
these people use it right here.
right, the ones that are in what was the Laterna house.
Yeah.
But I'm confused. So this 675. So 675 on sheet 2.
Yes. So that'd be the gross property?
Wait a minute, that 35 feet, Paul, is before that access goes into was the old Laterno house, because you can see where that driveway is. It doesn't go beyond it, so there's that green strip between 119 and Shady Lane, Laterno Drive. In that section, they use, it's in front of that house. I know, it's like you have to know these properties. It's like, I wish I knew who would get, oh, wait a minute, who lives in that house?
You can actually see the driveway on
Sheet 1,
sheet 1 and also on sheet 2. You can see it coming off of the highway.
so, okay, so there's the 35 feet. Okay,
So there's actually two accesses from 119.
for,
You've
yeah,
got-
it's the Evan Otis and Jimmy Roosevelt, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
For Laterno Lane.
Yep. the term.
So they go in, so the Ridge Rental property ends prior to that first access that goes straight in.
Correct, right here.
Yeah, and they must
I'm
own,
not sure what they actually use for that, probably both.
Big deal.
I think depending upon the weather.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Okay, yeah, so, yeah.
I think the old road was actually one of those accesses. That's my guess.
Well,
Yeah,
Laterno, it used to be 119 until they moved it.
Yeah, that's what I mean, that the angled one that kind of parallels the road, and that used to be the road.
Well, that's what they're showing that this little chunk comes down to on the other side. That's the piece that I'm talking about. And, okay, so that's the section that I'm talking about, not where you say there's 35 feet, because the Ridge Rental property ends
right,
long
exactly, yeah,
before
you're
that.
right. It's up here.
So there's an iron pin. I know there's the the cape with the garage that appears to be right on the property line, or the ranch, that little white ranch that belongs to the Fentons. So that's what the piece that I'm talking about, Paul.
This
is-
up here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
does that actually hit the state right of way, or does the Oates and Gross property own that?
And right away is 100 feet.
That's more than, I think, 100 feet when it gets there.
Yeah, that would be the New Hampshire right away. That's 50 feet from that end to the center line of the road. As you go west, you start getting some distance between the property and the highway layout, to the point where when you get 107 feet from this point, you've got a 35-foot section right here, right about in this way, between this land and then the right of way. 150. But as it tapers down, so when you get up here, that is the highway layout also.
Okay, I'm just kind of amazed that the state would have taken so much that it would be like 15 feet from that garage.
It is very close.
It's a little close. So are there any other questions from the board?
Just, it's hard to determine exactly where the right of way goes, I know there's no bound here, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but it doesn't really travel all the way down to this property here.
Which one are you talking about?
This going down, right here, this side was out, right?
Right, that would be that's actually the corner of the Ringe rental property, which shows up on this sheet right here, stone out.
Okay,
So it's 35 feet in right there. And if you keep going this way, it's 35. That becomes the highway right over there, right there.
Yeah, so somebody owns that strip.
Probably, yeah, probably the Jones. All this came from the Jones property before, from the other side of the highway.
No, in front of the, I'm sorry, the old Laterno property. It's like I've been here too long. That's how I remember it. When it was a red log cabin.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
They got subdivided.
yeah, no, I mean, they owned all of this, so.
Sorry.
Okay, so if there's no other questions from the board, I will open the public hearing, regarding this technical subdivision.
I think I'm all set now. I didn't know how this worked. I wanted, like, you guys are okay, tell me. It's my chance to ask. So it doesn't sound like, with lot line adjustment, it said that, the property abuts my property. I didn't know what that meant,
So do you want to state your name and,
Aaron Landry,
okay, and where are you?
and my lot is on Butternut Lane. And I am in lot 81-6.
Yeah, so if you look
So I'm down in the
on sheet 2 here, there's a couple of lots, up here in the locust.
it's
Up in this
basically,
area that come off of Butternut.
Oh, right, yeah, because those properties were all together at one time.
yeah. I didn't, obviously, like I said, I wasn't sure what it said. It was abutting my property, so I didn't know if it was something that directly affected me, obviously, as I can see.
Shading Lane, yeah.
Technically, it doesn't. But I didn't know if it was something that, was wetland related, or I just wanted to show off.
No, no, as long as you're good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Howdy, I'm in the notice. I live in the little weird cutout. I've got,
There's two.
I've got no problem with the lot line adjustment, but I have 2 points that, one, I think the lot line actually cuts my own part of that concrete there. Also been maintaining it all by myself with no like public help or anything. It's been treated as private driveway before it's been there.
Your driveway in front of your house.
Is that road that cuts right in?
Yes, so you still have all the rights that you have in your deed, and actually it's in the deed when the road from 119 to 119 was deeded to Ringe Rentals. All the right of ways and everything were still retained.
And my second thing is, I just think the map is, underrepresenting a lot of the water that's back there. I've been on the back of my property and there's a creek that runs pretty much right between that little weird farm right behind my property and runs right into a little lake back there. It's on the maps I noticed.
Yeah, I think you got this wetland here going through your property.
And it
And
cuts
we've got a
all-
bunch of it here on
There is a
the,
lot
on
of
the
wetland.
parcel we're getting, yeah. Now, this was flagged, by John Sisson, back when the Kings,
I just want to
Kings
make
Way
sure
project.
it's all being protected and everything because it's.
Yeah, no, there's,
Full
we
running.
can't touch any wetlands, or we've got to stay away a certain distance, if we're gonna do anything else. Jamie would like to see if he can do a little more with this project in there, but.
Yeah, I'm looking at it going, there's not a lot of hard.
It's not a lot
land.
of room.
Yeah.
It's 60 scale, so.
And there's a basically like a river running straight back there and a lake that you can see on the Google Maps. It's pretty large. Pretty much diagonally behind the property right into that area that you guys are talking
Yeah,
about.
it might be down in here, off the,
To the right.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like a football throw into the corner of the lot. And it's pretty sizable. So I just want to make sure nothing can like messed up.
Yeah, and a lot of the waterways, there's channels, actually canals back in there. They used to use it. Rob, if you've got a question out loud.
I said the pond is right here.
Oh, okay, thank you. Anyway, they used to actually use them for logging. Flood for logging.
No idea. Yeah, it's right. It's marked the pond.
Well, it's marked.
Marked the pond.
Oh, yeah, it's actually marked on here. It's not part of the wetland.
Mhm.
It's actually marked as pond. So
Does it have a name or not?
I don't know if that's named or not. There, it used to be like Rug Meadow.
No, Rug is part of the
Yeah.
road.
It's further, yeah, it's further off, like off West Main Street. Further to the west.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Hmm?
That's all I have.
Okay. So, if there,
I just gonna say, this was flagged back when the other development was done. Does it, when Kingsway was done? Should it be reflagged because Kingsway kind of.
Yeah, we're gonna have it refreshed.
For wetlands, because I know
We can't have
the
John
road
Sisson.
going in there kind of changed the whole drainage structure back there for sure.
yeah, it would have to be reflagged for a new development. Yeah, but not for this.
I don't think so, I think that would, be a condition maybe for future development.
So if there being no further questions from the public, I will close the public hearing. Does the planning board have any more questions? If there being none, I would entertain a motion to approve. We would want to remove condition 1 on the recommendations. So it would just be 5 conditions that Alex recommended. Well, there isn't a motion stated, so you have to make your own.
Oh,
And I would go back to, these, this and this. Actually, you could just say to approve without that.
will be.
Without that, but with the 5 conditions.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the technical subdivision application for tax map 6, lot 73-13, and tax map 6, lot 75, with the following conditions. Monumentation iron pins shall be set at the new lot corners as required. All applicable governmental permits shall be obtained. Prior, during, and after recording of the decision, the applicant shall be made aware that any conditions placed in the subdivision plan through other governmental or permitting agencies are hereby included in this approval. Approved by the Town of Range Planning Board in and of itself does not effectuate a change in lot location. This approval recognizes that the lot configurations proposed are in conformance with the Town of Range ordinances and regulations or are otherwise accepted non-conformances. Change in lot line location does not occur until such time as a deed transferring parcel A is recorded at the Cheshire County Registry of Deeds. A copy of the recorded deed must be submitted to the Town of Range Assessing Office. And the applicant or applicant's agent shall provide the planning office with an electronic copy of all of these.
I'll second the motion. Any other questions or discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. 500. You're approved.
Thank you.
Good call.
Okay, we have, next on the agenda is conceptual consultation for ATA construction for map 2, lots 41A and 41A-3 off Horsfall Road for potential bird.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
So please state your name and
My name is Joshua Joslin with Graz Engineering, representing Andre Alamo, day-to-day construction on this.
thank you.
Want me to jump right into it?
I would say so.
Okay.
Tell us what he wants to do.
Yeah, basically, he bought this piece of property, it's about 36, there's actually 2 pieces of property, I'm not showing it on this big sheet here, but there's this big piece of backland with 46 feet of frontage, and then there's another property right here, that's 1.5 acres that he's gonna be merging with that to get 100 feet of frontage for 196. And then he wants to do a PERD. So I brought this sheet just to show the overall property. There's going to be 38.27 acres once those are merged. And we've had the whole property surveyed and wetlands flagged by Tom Paragala. And he's actually done a soils map for us too, to go through alteration and terrain eventually with this. But basically what we have is some wetlands down right off the road, right here, and then a wetlands channel that comes down through the property here, and then this is the wetlands channel here, and then this property's been historically worked, mining gravel operations, so there's a few man-made wetlands kind of right where the idea of development is, but we do have a big chunk up here of nice highland that's a good spot for the cul-de-sac. And then the rest of the property's pretty wet, but going into this sheet, This is the basic layout that we've come up with, which is blown up to a 50 scale, so just showing that development piece. Looking at the per density requirements, it looks like we could get up to 17 lots based on, it's the undevelopable land portion of that is what's limiting us to 17 acres, or 17 lots rather, but laying out the houses and septics and lot lines, we're only coming up with the ability to get 10 lots. So basically what we'd be looking to do is we've got those wetlands down by the road, so you can see the lot line here that we'd be merging with this lot and coming in with a road further down right along this property line and hoping to wrap it right up through this highland here and then avoid both of these wetlands and this wetland to do exact right up at the top. In order to avoid these wetlands, I had to put a 150-foot radius on that curve, but it's required to have a 200-foot. And we're also gonna have to build some retaining walls right along there. As you can see on here, I have to come up with just a basic layout of all the grading and stormwater structures and where the septic and houses will go. So basically, it's gonna be one retaining wall right along that property line, a retaining wall here to avoid filling that wetland, and a retaining wall here to avoid filling that wetland. The houses are all gonna be pretty close to the road, right along that cul-de-sac, and we're gonna provide a big fire pond for stormwater protection, and then it's basically the road will slope up from this point to this point. All that water is gonna be captured with stormwater wetland for treatment down here. Potentially an infiltration basin here if we need the extra groundwater recharge. And then the rest of the road is gonna drain down to an infiltration basin here for the groundwater recharge. That's all for the operational drain and to reduce the peak flows for the storm runoff. That's basically what we're looking to do. All the house boxes shown are 50 by 40, just to give a general box. I guess the other thing that we'd be looking to do in this probably 100-foot section, we'd be looking to curve the road there rather than have swales because of trying to keep it tight to avoid the wetlands.
The Concom would appreciate that.
Yep.
So, I don't know if I'm familiar with this property, but, it occurred to me that even though it's two lots, they're both legal non-conforming. You're gonna need a variance.
Even if the PERD requirements only require 100 feet of frontage.
Yeah. Section 13, I can't speak for the ZBA, but because it's such a large tract of land that they have approved in the past, but it's because non-conforming lots of record can only have a single family home built on them. I'll read it. The 100 feet of frontage requirement for a PERD is a regulation, not zoning. I mean, it's a large tract of land. I mean, it's Article 13, E.
Okay, so it's
And I'll read it. Only a single-family dwelling or accessory structures may be erected on a lot having less than the minimum requirements for frontage and area. You're looking at frontage on both of them. Provided such a lot was a lot of record at the time of adoption of this ordinance. Yes, it was. However, yard requirements of 4, 5, and 6 must be complied with, whichever pertains. So that's 250 feet. So, and a PERD does not require that, obviously, within the PERD. But to develop the lot, to put multi-family dwellings on it, multiple housing units, you need a variance from 13E. Yeah, it's, as I say, I can't speak for the CDA, but they have, I don't remember them ever. Because it's obvious that it's, the property, it was way pre-zoning. And, I mean, that one lot with 46 feet of frontage is a buildable lot.
Right, you'd have to fill a lot of wetlands if you come in right here.
Yeah, and I don't, so that's a big selling point. But, yeah, it's just, I'm looking at this going, oh, wait.
Even though kind of strange, because your road is gonna make frontage.
We're creating a lot of frontage.
We're creating.
I know.
frontage.
I definitely agree, but as of now, you've got a 30-some acre lot with 46 feet of frontage. And a 1 acre lot,
With 150.
and it's only an acre and a half.
Yep, something like
Yeah, so they're both non-conforming lots of
Right.
record. And this guarantees that they can be developed for a single family home. I know, Al, do you want to weigh in on that, or it's like, I'm going, if you're building a road, it doesn't make sense, so maybe I'm wrong.
That's what I'm thinking, because I don't know where that third requirement would come from, that your lot only needs 100 feet of frontage.
That, as I say, that's a,
That's a regular, I know what you're saying.
and the reason for that, and it's 100 feet of continuous. So if somebody has 50 feet here and 50 feet here, they can't do a perk.
Right.
So I could be wrong, but that's always been the thing about pre-existing non-conforming lots, that we guarantee that they can be developed.
So why does that then impact? Yeah, so they're trying to combine the two lots.
They're gonna merge the
So they're two
two,
non-conforming, which you can't make them more non-conforming, but obviously that's not.
so it's gonna make it more conforming, but still non-conforming.
Okay.
There's not 250 feet of frontage.
Oh, so even by combining them, you don't get to the conforming lot.
No, you get, what, 190?
190.
Yeah, you get less than 200.
Then that would require a variance. That would seem to make sense then.
Until,
I mean,
yeah, because you haven't built the road yet.
That's pretty straightforward then.
Yeah,
It's strange because it's not uncommon for people through the decades to say, well, I'm gonna leave myself 100 feet or 50 feet so I can get in there, maybe put a road in something.
I know, in Renge. I'm not saying that this doesn't need to be addressed.
But that's saying only a single family dwelling or accessory structure may be erected on a lot having less than the minimum requirements of frontage in the area provided, which would be very straightforward if you were building like convex units or something, where it was a condo and this was a shared driveway. That would be like clearly contradictory. But like, nobody is gonna build any houses on lots that are non-conforming.
Sure they do. They do.
On the thing.
On this plan?
That's.
No, there's a lot right here that's 170,
No, I'm saying this plan here does not have any houses being built on non-conforming lots, correct?
no, they would all be conforming, however,
But nobody would be building a house on a non-conforming lot. Because that's saying you can't build anything, no, that's saying you can't build anything any more than one house on a non-conforming lot.
correct.
In this plan here, there's no multiple units being built on a non-conforming lot.
They would all be conforming after approval.
Right.
But right now, they have 2 non-conforming lots.
Yeah.
And our zoning guarantees that those lots can be built on,
You know,
Correct.
single family home.
So the big one in the back, you could,
And the
Put a
state
house on
lot,
there
and
was a one in the front, you
Well, how
could
does-
squeeze
yeah.
something up.
how does the fact that you can build on it impact whether you can do a PERD or not?
well, the PERD, is a regulation that we require 100 feet of continuous frontage. Because there are lots that have 250 feet of frontage, but it's not all on a town road.
I'm just trying to tie the English up, you know what I mean? So I'm
It
just
sucks.
reading- No, I don't know it does, I'm just saying,
No, it just,
like this, it seems pretty clear, but again, if I just follow the steps and I go.
so what
I was
would
like,
make
okay,
sense is
where-
if
I could
this
just say
said,
where my-
if you have more than 100 feet, you can build a road.
Right.
If you have more than, well, it's actually 50 feet, I
But the
think.
PERD rules are still the PERD rules, those
The
budgets still
PERD-
apply.
But the PERD is mostly regulations. There's, very little ordinance about the PERD.
Because it's just 2 separate transactions, right? You combine it. And then at that point, does it apply to the PERD or not?
So the PERD, where is I? So the PERD does not wipe out all zoning. It only speaks to density and frontage within the PERD. So the planning board may approve a PERD in which density or intensity and frontage may vary from the 2 acres, 250 feet, as provided in the regulations.
I guess my question would be, if they didn't have this here, they just came in and said, we want to merge the lots, is there anything that says they couldn't do that?
Well, they could merge the lots, but they're still less than,
It's a non-conforming.
it's still a non-conforming lot.
It would be worse because you have 2 non-conforming lots and you can build on each one, so you can put 2 dwellings.
No, I'm
If
just,
you merge them, you only have one,
yeah, no,
even though it's a big parcel.
I'm just saying, within the vacuum, if somebody had these, they just came in and said, we want to just merge these lots, is there anything that says they couldn't do that?
Well, they could merge them, but
And
they still couldn't do this.
But then at that point, once it was merged, why wouldn't they be, what would then do with them?
Because we would still only have 196 feet of frontage. But that would only apply when you're going for a building permit, you want to build something.
No, because it's a non-conforming.
It's zoning, it's land use, not. The
Right.
building
What
permit,
I'm saying is, when you do a subdivision, you're creating frontage, your lots are all legal lots conforming to zoning. So when someone goes for a building permit, there's not a non-conforming lot there.
correct. But in order for you to build more than 2 houses on those 2 lots, to do more than that, you need a variance.
He brought up a good point though, because
Do you remember, Halliday's?
Yeah.
He had to get a variance.
Well, coming back with that, so.
Oh, I know, yeah, so I know. So in order to do that perk, he had to get a variance.
No, I think he had frontage.
No,
but his,
he had several variances on that.
That's
Whole
right, he
thing.
had variances, I got involved in it, yeah.
Yeah, so he, for the backland, the only frontage he had was that little bit on Dale Farm and all of the class 5. He had no frontage on Middle Winchendon Road.
Oh,
He had a right of way down by the Peck Building. He had a right of way to get in there, so when he bought the farmhouse, the Norfolk, when he bought the farmhouse, he did a technical to give that backlot frontage, but it was not 250 feet. So he had to get a variance to be able to do the PERD. It's exactly the same thing as this. He had all that land, and even though he gave himself frontage from the lot, it wasn't 250 feet of frontage, so he had to get a variance for the PERD.
It still doesn't make sense though, because like he said, it's like very common practice to like, somebody like leave a certain right of way to go and blow in a road later at some point, and, I'm not saying if you're.
Not in Ranch.
It's
Not
still,
in
it's still a
Ranch.
class 6 road, so there's a guy in that area, I can't remember his name. He wanted to, subdivide his property and subdivide it off to get a 2-acre buildable lot, but it only had frontage on a class 6 road that wasn't town maintained.
No, I mean, leave an opening if you want to put in a road to meet spec.
Not in Range, because you cannot subdivide and create a lot that does not conform. Not in Range. If somebody came in and wanted to subdivide this, and I want to keep this much frontage,
Okay.
it would not be approved. This would be considered a non-buildable lot.
Okay, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's,
But if you follow the English, right, if you're just reading what's there, at no point is anybody building more than one house on a non-conforming lot.
no, they're trying to build, how many?
10.
10 on a non-conforming lot.
No, those are conforming.
No, they're not. They don't exist.
Yet.
And we can't let them exist until they get a variance to do more than the single-family home on each lot. Does this need to be looked at?
No, I just don't think, like,
You're looking at it like it's already,
You're
it's
looking at
already
logically.
existing, all the lots have been
I
subdivided.
would read that to say, if there was some way to build 2 houses on a single lot, you couldn't do it unless it was a conforming lot. That's how I read it. And that's not what being proposed.
But it's not.
No, they're proposing putting 10, 16, whatever it is,
Yeah.
on a non-conforming lot, on 2 non-conforming lots, and it's not allowed.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine if I'm in the minority. I would just like, if you just put the papers in front of me and said, what is this? I would say they're not looking to build, like, if that met the PERDs, I would say that they're all conforming. Like, they're not building anything. I would read
But they
that,
can't
I would read
create
that
them.
literally.
They can't create them because they can't use this for anything except 2 single-family homes.
So the first step in this is combining those lots, and then they get the variance, which,
No.
No. I never recommend that.
Go for the
They
variance
get the
first.
variance with the,
Otherwise, you turn
Yeah,
2 building lots
okay.
into 1 building lot.
yeah, with the,
point being is that they need the variance with frontage, and
to
then they,
develop it.
to develop, and then they can go in and develop. And they'll probably get the variance.
It's those are old lots. Actually, they're so old that I was stunned at the 46-foot one. I don't know how it was created.
The old plan for it is terrible.
Oh, no, I know. As I said, I'm familiar with.
I don't even think they knew how much frontage they left it.
I think they thought it was 50.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, what about,
no, it goes into, the 50 feet goes into the 1.5 acre lot. There's an easement in the other lot. There's an easement for the rest of the 50 feet
Yes.
into the next
there is.
lot.
well, so if they go for a variance, are they looking for feedback on this?
They're just asking for relief from Article 13E to allow them to build more than a single-family home on each of those lots.
No, I'm saying for us now.
Oh, do we think it's a good idea? Do we think that their proposal disregarding
Yeah,
the need?
because if it's a variance thing, that's not us.
We don't, is this, and it's.
So one of my questions would be like, so you're basically proposing a steeper.
No, it's not steeper, it's
Sharper,
sharper.
right?
And that would be a, chief of police and fire chief question, because they would have to weigh in on it.
Yep.
I didn't even realize that we had that. Well, I'm going, is that in here? Oh, it's under the road building.
Yeah, it's in the.
Oh, yeah, road design. Yeah, because I'm going, it's so different.
It's a very significant reduction in radius.
Well,
It's only about
Pretty
20%.
common though for small, dead end road, 100-foot radiuses aren't uncommon.
well, I was just gonna say, the radius for the
The cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac's much
50
tighter.
foot outside, and that's what's required, so I figured 150-foot radius on the roadway itself.
Yeah, I mean, the radius, the turning for
I
the
mean,
cul-de-sac is
if when
much
we get to
tighter,
that
much tighter.
75 radius, you said this is 50 or 150?
150 on this,
Oh, okay, I misunderstood that, I said.
Oh, yeah, no, the 150,
That's what
yeah,
I'm saying.
because I'm going,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
it's only
going.
20% of the
Yeah.
requirement.
Yeah, I think when we get there, we'll submit waive request for justification. The standards and the 150 would meet the standards for this.
Hmm. No, is that two fire ponds? It looks like,
one's a fire pond and one's gonna be for infiltration.
oh, infiltration, okay. Oh, I see the, drainage as well. So basically, they're just asking for feedback.
I'm glad we did.
I keep looking at it going, I knew there was something about that property that I'm actually, I was familiar with it from when the house next door was on the market. Yeah. I didn't, it's like, it's tight, but it's, I mean, you've got there's a lot of common land. I mean,
There's a lot of wetland back in there.
oh, I know there is. There's some highland too, though, on the other side.
I'm trying to.
A lot of this,
Yeah.
a lot of this was done by over excavating.
I hauled a ton of dirt out of there in another life.
I know,
They didn't
and
have that
that's,
little dirt around, I don't couldn't tell you how many times.
I know, it's really, and that's been an issue is, over excavating for gravel and sand. So and it does cause issues because, if they get leveled out, they wouldn't, but that never happens. So, any comments, Rob?
Yeah, I mean. Variance, I mean, the biggest thing is just road and just fire department. Think they can get a truck around it.
Well, if they can get a truck around the cul-de-sac, which is our standards, I would think so. Yeah. I don't think you can get a variance request in by tomorrow. Not for this month. So. But anyway, that's my, all of a sudden I'm looking at that going, wait a minute. Because every PERD that has had less than 250 feet of frontage said to get variance.
Why do you have the 100-foot requirement in the PERD?
As I explained, it's because some people have the frontage, but not contiguous.
So wouldn't that be non-conforming also? Doesn't need to be continuous frontage?
It has to be,
No, I mean, your 250 feet, does that need to be continuous?
no,
Oh, okay.
no.
So you could have 50 feet of frontage here and 200 feet of frontage there.
Yeah, and it's, you know what, that may have gotten rewritten, but I know that we had a subdivision like that. Exactly, like that. And it may have gotten changed. Yeah, because you could have, I know that we have had subdivisions that have, what is the definitions of frontage? I don't know if that did get changed. Frontage uninterrupted, that was added. Uninterrupted length of a lot bordering a public right of way. Because I know that there are some that didn't have uninterrupted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that if a piece just theoretically had 200 feet of frontage plus another 50 feet from somewhere else, then you were coming in on 1,500, would that need a variance or not? That, because that would be a new non-conforming lot now because of the uninterrupted. But when it was created, it was conforming. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it's non-conforming now. Yeah,
So you should probably change the code requirements to just say conforming frontage rather than 100 feet minimum.
probably. Yeah, we're working on it. It was nine, I think it was 9 last year. So, thank you. Yeah, I think the board, you know, it's just get a variance as quickly as possible because, that's gonna be key. And I would just, you know, pass it by, you know, Rick really, because he's got the big equipment. Mike too. As I say, if they can get around the cul-de-sac,
That
curve-
was my thought, doing the 100-foot, 150-foot radius. So if they can get around a 40-foot inside radius, they should have no problem.
yeah,
They've got more width there though, too. They've got 24 feet to track around, whereas you only have half of the road.
Right.
thank you.
All right, thanks.
You want, you want this back or?
You can study them if you want.
Round phylum?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, yeah, make sure that,
Yes. I texted you.
You already did? Okay.
yeah, so before we sign it, we need the originals. Can't have that. Yeah, the original probably doesn't have that on there, because that's already been signed by the bank. Yeah, this was already approved by, which is good. Thank you. Okay. So, did you sign in?
We did.
And I can't believe that, you know, I thought there were gonna be a lot of people here. Oh, you did have people for the first, public hearing. Okay, next, in accordance with RSA 675(3), paragraph 2, and 675(7), paragraph 1, I'll open the public hearing for zoning amendments. Does anybody want to take a quick break before we start? Okay. When you get back there.
Got 20 minutes.
If you're lucky.
Tell everyone you get home, put it in room.
Okay, where are we? Okay, so our first suggested zoning change.
Hey, you want to trick out?
What's that?
Back up. Don't fold it like that.
Why?
Oh, no, you don't. Well, for going in the file, you need to have at least one that you can, it's folded the other way.
Yeah, I'll work on that afterwards.
Okay, so we're gonna, we'll number these, later. But anyway, the first one is, are you in favor of the adoption of amendment number to the Town of Orange zoning ordinance as proposed by the planning board and generally described as follows? To amend Article 3A by adding the words, no building, structure, or land shall be used except for the purposes permitted in the district as specified in this ordinance. Any use not listed shall be construed as prohibited. To read, and this is what the actual sentence will say after passage of this ordinance. No building, structure, or land shall be used except for the purposes permitted in the district as specified in this ordinance. Any use not listed shall be construed as prohibited. And I put in a why. We're doing that. So if you've got your zoning book, the whole reason for this is that there's been a lot of issues anytime anything has been challenged and gone to court, whether we're permissive or not permissive. So this, even though our zoning ordinance has always been considered permissive, this makes it no doubt.
All it does is just add, it means to Joel's
Clarity.
point, the preferred regulations clarifies it.
In favor.
So the public hearing is open. If there's any comment from the public, so, I can't believe this. And when we go to, town meeting and these are all just passed over, this is basically deliberative session for zoning amendments. Because once they get posted, we have to determine if this is the final form. So there being no questions.
This is just the semantics in terms of reaffirming that zoning is a permissive behavior.
Right, and we do have copies of this available, Joe, I think. If you want to follow along.
No, I was the very first person. And yes, I did 250. But right next door to me is the old military road, which is like.
Right.
So, but this, I fully understand the issue is that at the end of the day, zoning is Mother Made.
So, I will, unless we get to questions, we're gonna do these all at once and vote on it. Let's move it, I know. Anyways, I said, well, there have been many court cases where towns lost because the court found their zoning ordinances vague or poorly written. So what we're trying to do is go through them and fix them. And this is really amazing that nobody's here for this one. Are you in favor of the adoption of amendment number 2, the Town of Orange zoning ordinance as proposed by the planning board and generally described as follows? And you know what? I don't even think I need to read all that. To amend the accessory dwelling unit ordinance section 2 by adding existing to the first sentence to read. For the purpose of providing expanded housing opportunities and flexibility in housing arrangements to accommodate family members or non-related people of a permitted existing owner-occupied single-family dwelling while maintaining aesthetics and residential use compatible with homes in the neighborhood. Why? This language was found to be confusing as it didn't specifically refer to existing, and the board felt that the intent of the ordinance was not for building spec homes, but as it reads, to accommodate residents to expand or build an apartment for family, friends, or even for rental units. I know we beat this up. That's so many.
Bill Anderson called me on this issue.
Yeah,
Because about if you're building a new house, can you build it with the plan of an ADU already. And that this, what you're clarifying is, no, it's gotta be existing.
Because that's, if you read the way it was without that word, to accommodate family members or non-related people of a permitted, owner-occupied, single-family dwelling. How does that not mean that it's existing? And that was the intent when when the ADU was done. We did it before the state said we had to. Yeah, we did, and we did detached before the state, we've been way ahead of the curve. But it wasn't to build a bunch of two-family homes that we couldn't control, really, that they were owner-occupied. I mean, if you got a house for sale, you can't say you have to live here. It's not legal, so,
Well, the question is can someone take a lot and build a duplex on
if they've got 3 acres.
it? That's really not a problem.
Yeah, but these ADUs are being built in PERDs, where they only have an acre. Any more discussion on this?
Accessory is an accessory to an existing thing. It's kind of just a, if you build a bar next to your house, it becomes an accessory to your property. It's the whole gist of it. Accessory is in addition to.
I think the big issue was really is another family. It's not an accessory of being a garage or being a hot tub with a pool, but it was the issue was that they wanted to build affordable housing. And then assuming that if you're attaching it to something that's already there, then the affordability is the fact that you save money on the septic and the water and that you can expand in using your property. But again, at the end of the day, it goes back to how's that different than a duplex?
Right. So ADUs are allowed in any residential building block. It's like they can be added on to. Okay. To amend, I'm not reading the first part. To amend Article 3N by adding the words on the owner's property to the first paragraph and removing the words tents do not require permits from the second paragraph. 2 reading. And because both those are in there, this is long. Campers, travel trailers, and motorhomes may be stored unoccupied on the owner's property in any district in the town of Orange for any period of time. Second paragraph, Board of Selectmen may issue a permit for any residential property owner to accommodate him or herself or non-paying guests on their property to reside in campers, travel trailers, or motorhomes for a period not exceeding 60 days in any 1 year. In granting the permit, the Board of Selectmen shall take into consideration legitimate concerns raised by abutters. The units shall demonstrate that proper sanitary facilities are available as determined by the health officer, and all applicable life safety codes are met. No unit may be used for permanent dwelling at any time. The reason? The language was vague and did not state that storing a personally owned travel trailer, etc., was intended not to store those that belong to other people. As tents are not real property, the planning board does not really have jurisdiction. So that was the reason for this. It's kind of a cleanup. There's quite a few properties in town where they've been storing multiple travel trailers. And that's when I realized that was not what was intended when it was passed, I don't know how many months ago. Any questions? John,
Okay.
identify yourself. It's John Hunt.
So I generally understand this is all fine. Sometimes I do think of statutes, especially when I write them, that they are so informative. They're trying to explain to people, trying to answer their questions before they ask. And so I would urge you not to remove the expression about the tenants. only because I think that it makes it, people understand, we're talking about campers and not tents. And so thereby putting in that language, even though, like you say, it's not really necessary, there's no regulations about tents, but that in terms of the accessory use issue about what a tent is on a property, okay, is by having that in there, just makes somebody feel comfortable that it's okay to have.
The Board of Selectmen are planning on doing a camping ordinance.
That's something separate.
The tent camping is not allowed on town property.
Right, tent camp.
Any camping is not allowed on town property.
Well, yeah, but
They're
exactly,
covered.
that's a homeless issue. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about somebody who has a tent on their property, that their kids love to camp, and they've got, a place that they want to have camp. It's not different than a tree house.
Right,
If they want to have something that make it clear that no, there's no regulation on that.
But I don't know that zoning has a place for tents anyway. I mean, it's not land use, it's owners' private use of their property, or they can let somebody else use it. That's why I'm going, why are we even dealing with tents?
Somebody thought it was important.
It was like,
Who was in the room when it happened?
me,
And what was the conversation?
I don't know why we put it in there.
You
It
don't.
must have been 20 years ago.
Okay, but you take the position.
Yeah, so what,
You're taking the position that tents is never regulated, that anybody can put a tent on their property and do whatever they want with that tent.
well, we don't regulate them anyway. That's why I'm going, why is it in zoning? What does it have to do with
We
land
said that we
use?
ever regulated campers.
Campers, because they are, actually specifically addressed in other places, you cannot put, if you do not have a septic, and you can't put a camper on a vacant lot. We address that in zoning, because it's not a structure. We don't allow them in residential res ag, and I question that, to some degree, but they're not permitted, but we allow them with a permit for temporary housing. And we allow them,
60-day housing.
and we also,
60 day per year.
and we
If
also,
your house burns down.
well, no, you can actually bring in a mobile home for that with the selectmen's approval, if your house burns in. But that's why this one was in there, it was to specify that you could use a trailer on your property with a permit. And if you have sanitary facilities available. No, No. no, not porta potties.
They're not sanitary?
They're not allowed. It's not considered, proper sanitary facility. You have to either take it down and dump it, or be able to hook it to a septic. Yeah. That's how that got started. So, yeah, what does the board feel about the tents?
I mean, I, to John's point, and I think we've kind of, it's come up at other points with other stuff here, like Max always brings it up too, where he's like, somebody else might be reading these things, so, and they're just gonna read through and just go by what's there. And so if there's a reason why adding tents is gonna pull us into something else that's problematic, and I agree that if it's, if you're just reading this in the context of, these all sound like kind of camping type operations, and camps and tents another logical, I guess, shelter that would get grouped into those. I don't see the harm in just saying tents are excluded or something like that.
Well, I'm just kind of, it starts off talking about campers, travel trailers, and motorhomes. And then it says that you can get a permit for temporary for campers, travel trailers, and motorhomes. That's why I'm going, what do tents have to do with those three things? It just, and tents, they're not, I don't think they're a zoning issue.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that if you're saying real property, but then it's like, what the other things are.
And I see your point, and the only time with this, I think I'm agreeing with what you're saying about that not really, it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I don't think
But I
tents
do
fit anywhere
recall
in zoning.
in past summers that tents can sometimes become an issue, but it sounds like there are other ways that can that can be dealt with. Because just looking at what happens around the lakes, someone throws a party at their home, the tents would show up, but I think that there's other options where it's clearly stated somewhere else about how you have to do whatever you need to do to get the permit to do that. So I think that's
Yeah, I think that silence is not, an omission. It's just that do they even belong in zoning? That was, I kept reading that and going, why is that in zoning? So it's up to the board. Ashley.
I'm sorry, Thayer Road. I mean, as a layperson reading it, I would assume if I'm well, are tents allowed? And I look at this and I say, well, I need permits for this A, B, and C, and it doesn't mention D. I would assume that I don't need a permit for D. So I think it's sort of de facto. You can put it in there or you can leave it out. It means the same thing to me.
So a question, if you wanted to put a tent up in your backyard, would you even look to see if you could put one up?
Probably not, but if I was, or if I was reading it and was like, oh, maybe this applies to me, I don't know that having it in there or having it out would mean anything different.
Yeah, I don't know. And as far as an enforcement thing, other than camping on commons on vacant property when it's not their property, I had recommended that the selectmen put in the camping ordinance because they're not gonna do it. They wanna put it on a warrant article, that if they're gonna do it as a warrant article, because it's beyond their ability to do it, to regulate it otherwise, to put in that camping on private property requires the written permission of the property. I mean, if you're camping on your own property, obviously you don't, but there's still a lot of unoccupied property in this town. And it occurred to me that somebody could just set up house on somebody else's property and nobody would know about it.
I mean, I live on the lake and I know that has been a problem in the towns where there was just tents out there. But also when we have the 4th of July at my house, sometimes we have relatives camping in the front yard. We don't give them written permission, but we are 5 feet from the
right.
So if there was anybody had a problem, just knock and we'd say, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, no, but it'd be for for absentee owner
Yeah,
property, that it's like, they're setting up camp on, and the property
But
owner lives in
these,
California.
Rachel, police chief
Trespassing.
Malinowski, spoke to this before and said that they have a procedure for that.
Trespassing, but that would be easier if it is actually in an ordinance about camping, that selectmen do, their, bylaws. So, anyway, what's the pleasure of the board?
Either way, it's.
John, you're suggesting that it's staying in.
Well, the only reason I saw that was because it was related to the issue of campers. So the question was, the key element of campers was that you had 60 days and that you couldn't charge rent. So let's say I wanted to set up a campsite that's off the grid in the middle of the woods. Am I allowed to do an Airbnb to that off the grid campsite? It's a tent.
Probably not, because if somebody wants to camp with nothing, if they want to, rough it,
Yeah.
that's up to them.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but can I charge? Can I be?
Well, then it's back to the whole.
Airbnb off the grid campsite.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, if the next one gets approved, I would say no, because it limits short-term rentals to dwellings specifically.
We haven't got to that one.
Yeah, no, but it still goes back to, the fact that it's not an accessory use to a residence. And I don't know that the next one would even would cover it. If, no, that says accessory dwelling units, that's the exception.
But it says the rental.
Right, single family, two
Single-family,
family,
two-family, or multi-family dwelling units,
right,
not
tents,
tents or barns or sheds.
Hence the word permissive.
yeah,
You
it's
have to
not,
write it in there.
if it's not
For it to be permitted.
allowed, it's not permitted,
If you're not mentioned, it's not permitted.
correct. Yeah, if it's not allowed, it's not. I mean, it's
Always go
not,
back to Tyler Warehouse, is that auto repair?
oh, I know, I'd forgotten about that one.
How could you? Because that is really
I think I was,
Poster
I
child
think I was
of
somewhere
this
else.
whole issue of permissive.
What year was that?
All I know is,
It was in the late nineties.
as I'm saying, that's the whole point of the permissiveness language. That if it doesn't say, if it's not specifically stated,
Then somebody doesn't spend a
Yeah, it's
lot
not-
of money
it's
trying to
not
get
there.
it in.
unless another says, yes, you can do that. I used to think it was only liquor law. Until Lynn and I had to go through 3 years of court case, learning all about zoning that we never knew about. That it's not just liquor laws, that zoning is very draconian. It basically says if we don't specifically say you can do it, then you can't.
Well, the whole thing is just protecting the town from vague language.
I guess what I would venture to offer, and maybe I'm out of spot here in terms of getting on to the next one. But in both of these cases, the underlying problem is the small properties along the way. So in terms of how do we address those problems? Those houses, and that development in terms of the vacation rental, in terms of what the property usage. And then drag in properties that could be 100 acres. And say, okay, we're gonna apply the same rules.
Are we still talking about tents?
I'm talking about tents, yes. What I'm saying is, what is the harm to allow somebody to come up and, put a tent on the accessory on my property on our property, on our house. We have 100 acres, we have a spot, and it'd be a nice camping site, and they wanna rent it for the weekend. And they're gonna live in a tent, okay, because they can't live in a camper right now. Because the camper specifically says not monetary. So if somebody wants to pay me a couple $100 to rent a tent and put it out on my property, what's the harm in that?
So now you're making me think that we should take it out. It's like, I still don't think that permits are gonna be required for tents regardless. However, if you're running a business, a rental business, that's different. Then it's under business. So it's the pleasure of the board on tents.
The way I'm hearing is that John must go with it.
Correct, that's what he said.
For the intent that if he wants to have a boat campsite, out natural, that's fine. But if we take it out, it falls under a different way.
Well, in this case,
Is that the way I'm understanding?
This part, yeah, this is true, but this part is not that important to me.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Because the next paragraph, the next article is the one that really strikes home.
So I would suggest
And
that,
so the tent is a side issue, because I'm just offering, if I'm going to compromise and not have a camper out there. I mean, right now, you go on Airbnb, there are Airstreams that people are paying $500 a night to stay in an Airstream.
Not in Ringe.
Exactly. So I'm just saying is you said that, you put that stake in the ground, and I'm not telling you to take it out.
So there was actually a
So I'm
court
just saying
case
is that
exactly
how we
about
get
that.
to the next one.
There was a
says
court
that
case
it's
exactly, there was a court case exactly about that. Trailers. People were using it for Airbnb. And I read it very carefully. We specifically say non-paying guests.
Got it.
There's no question, but the zoning in whatever town it was. They didn't say that. So we say you can have them, but non-paying guests. Okay,
I
it's,
would suggest we remove it like the plan, because it's all discussing campers.
that's,
To John's point.
and it's campers, not people. It's
the rental
campers,
side of it is-
travel trailers and motorhomes, not people. Yeah, it's not, no, okay. Okay, now, on to John's favorite. So, are you in favor of adoption to amend Article 3S by rewriting the first sentence, deleting the second sentence, and adding 2 sentences which will provide for regulations and adding a heading to describe the section as short-term rentals. To read, short-term rentals, the rental of all or any portion of a single-family dwelling, 2-family dwelling, or multi-unit dwelling, with the exception of accessory dwelling units, by the property owner thereof, to any other person or group for periods of less than 30 days is a permitted commercial use, provided that short-term rental shall require site plan approval, issuance of a conditional use permit by the planning board, and be in compliance with all local ordinances, regulations, and applicable state laws and rules. Issuance of a conditional use permit shall take into consideration adequate septic, water supply, adequate parking, maximum occupancy, life safety inspections, and other items deemed appropriate to protect public health and safety. Why? The revisions are to address the surge in short-term rentals or Airbnbs. There have been many court cases, and it has been determined that they are not residential use, as they are considered more like a hotel and need to be regulated. This will give the planning board oversight to make sure they comply with life safety and health standards. Also to make sure there is adequate parking and that they are not rented to an excessive number of people based on the number of bedrooms and septic size. Planning board will be adopting regulations at a different time when this is adopted by the legislative body. So John called today. I think he talked to Al too. And a couple of things that he brought up was, one of the things that we took out was that the parking, the adequate parking meant on-site parking. And he also brought up the occupancy, maximum occupancy. To answer your question about bedroom septic loading, two people per bedroom is how they determine septic size. Phil got back to me, when I asked him, because I wasn't sure. But he said, now that's how they calculate it, is the number of gallons they calculate, 150 gallons which seems like a lot, on average. But anyway, so John has concerns, and it's your turn.
Okay, so we have already passed an ordinance which said the maximum amount of occupancy is 25.
No. That doesn't say that.
What does it say then?
It said for groups of entertaining, and that was the worst. When I read this ordinance so many times, worst worded ordinance I've ever seen. The rental of all or any portion of single-family dwelling, two-family, multi, with the exception of bed and breakfast facilities, which I don't know why that's in there, by the property owner thereof to any other person or group shall be a valid permitted accessory use of said dwelling under this ordinance, provided that there is adequate, this was added, that wasn't in there, adequate on-premise off-street parking for the vehicles of all renters, tenants, and guests. Exceptional rentals shall include rentals for wedding parties and receptions, bachelor parties, corporate or institutional meetings, seminars, workshops, religious treatment, events, or activities for which attendance is not expected to exceed 25 people. Attendance, not necessarily occupancy. So no, it did not say occupancy of 25 is permitted.
So the issue always is when people contact us, they say, oh, we want to have a wedding, but, we're only going to have X amount of people staying over.
Correct.
Okay, so we have interpreted the 25, the 24, in terms of ourselves, was that we would say, you cannot exceed 24 people in the house. There's no way I can vote to accept the ordinance if you're gonna say 2, when right now that the castle is an 8-bedroom unit, you're now saying, no, you've got to drop that 24 to 16.
We're not saying that.
Yes, you would if you put in the number 2.
That's why I said I don't think it's a good idea to put it in the ordinance, because the planning board has no flexibility. If it's in the ordinance, it's in the, it needs a variance to vary from. If you have, you already have a court-approved
24.
agreement, I can't remember the word. A court-approved.
It's 20.
22. Court-approved 22.
No, not the number. What's that? Agreement. You have.
Yeah, court settlement.
You have a court settlement that we can't. We don't have the authority to do that. So it was outside of zoning at the time, because this was not in zoning. So this wasn't in zoning when you got the court-approved agreement. So the putting in specific, really specific information into the ordinance ties our hands as far as looking at the conditions, and I thought of several things after we talked. One is, there's a lot of waterfront properties. Well, there's actually a lot of houses in town that have expanded from what they originally, they may have been a 2-bedroom house and they added on. And if it was after the septic law, which I can't remember what it is, 41 or something, they may have a septic design that shows that their property can handle the expanded number of bedrooms.
How would they have that? If you just said that the regulations today, the septic system is required, it is looking at a 2-bedroom, 2 per bedroom.
No, if they have, that's what I'm saying.
So you're saying.
Somebody comes forward and they're doing a rental and they have a 4-bedroom house, but they only have 2-bedroom septic system, but they have a plan in case the septic fails to build the 4-bedroom septic plan. Are we gonna limit them?
I would hope the regulation would say is, we don't care about the plan. What is the house in its current state? Does it have a 4-bedroom septic system in it? If the answer is no, then no, they are limited to the smaller,
No, because they got approved for a 4-bedroom house because they have a plan that the property.
Are you going to tell some people that you can only have, will approve your plan as a vacation rental, but you can only have 4 people? Because you only have that 2-bedroom septic system. Who's going to enforce that? How is that going to be regulated? Okay? The issue is not what you could have. The issue is what you do have. If you're going to create a regulation that says that it's going to be easy for the code enforcer to do the check off, it's going to go down there. What is the current septic system? Not what it could be, what is it? Okay, it's really only a 2-bedroom system. That means you're going to say is the only way you can have a vacation rental on this property is you can't have any more than 4 people. That's what your regulations have to say.
But the state approved the fact that they have a 4-bedroom house now.
No, the state never approved that. The state doesn't give building permits. The town gives building permits.
They approved septic designs.
And did they put in the 2-bedroom system, or
The
did they put in
state
the
doesn't
4-bedroom?
require that.
That's no. The state only says, you give us an application, we'll approve what is the size of your system. You're coming back afterwards and saying is, oh, look, we have a covenant related to this issue. And that is you're confusing the state's septic system with the idea that what you as an enforcement in your community are going to enforce what the vacation rental can have.
But they have an occupancy permit for those other 2 bedrooms.
That is issued by the town, it has nothing to do with the state.
The only reason that they got it issued was because the state approved their septic design.
The 2-bedroom septic.
No, the 4-bedroom.
They're required to have a septic.
The state law
Today requires.
Yeah, it doesn't require you to put it in the ground. It requires you to get an approved septic design. If you expand, if you go from seasonal to full-time, or if you expand the number of bedrooms. You don't have to put it in the ground until it fails. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's the law.
Okay, here's what I'm asking. I'm saying is, you cannot you be careful about passing a regulation that affects the whole town when there are some variations in the town system that you have to be part of that regulation. Okay, so that in our case, we have an 8-bedroom system. Okay, we are designing. We got our permit for it, and it really is an 8-bedroom system. Okay?
I believe you.
So therefore, to create a covenant to pass this regulation on paper, it will say is we are stuck with only 16 renters.
Except you have a court approved.
The idea that we have to, when we're grandfathered only because our neighbors sue us, and then nobody else has that same right, is outrageous. I cannot sleep at night saying, okay, just because we happen to have done this ahead of time, we get off. No, I'm talking about the rest of Ridge that has, the vast majority of Ridge is really a 4-bedroom system. That most of us would have been 2-acre lots in the last 30 years, we've all put in 4-bedroom septic systems. Okay? And so therefore, I am cautioning you that the way this ordinance is written, that if you really want people in Ridge to say, okay, let's vote for this, for them to know that you theoretically have, that they don't know what they're voting for, because they don't know what they really could be permitted, is a problem. That's what I'm saying. Now, you might change this language to say that, and all I was recommending is putting in outside limits, okay? So putting in that 25, okay, or 24, if my argument being that let's say an 8-bedroom system should have 3, not 2, but 3, and just putting in the number 3, okay? 3 would seem generous. It would seem like you guys are being responsive and supportive and allowing people to get the most, okay? So if they only have a 2-bedroom septic system in their house, okay, you'll let them have 6 people. Or, excuse me, 3, if they have 2, right, they give 6 minutes, okay? So you're just being more willing to be flexible by putting in the 3, by saying, yeah, no more than 3 per septic as installed. Not as permitted or as signed by the state, but as installed. And that the code enforcer can come out and say, yeah, this is what you have installed.
But then if somebody's got a 4-bedroom house that they paid a couple of grand for a septic design, but they have occupancy permit for those 2 additional bedrooms, but we're saying, no, you can't use them. That's why I really have.
But are you really going to try to stop them from doing it? I mean, are you saying that you really want them to pay, even though they only have a 2-bedroom septic system in? Are you going to write that in this regulation?
The state said it was okay, John.
I put it in writing. No one is going to vote for it with your interpretation, okay? We don't know that that's what would happen if it got drawn to court. I'm telling you is, if you want to get this thing passed in the town, you've got to show good faith of how much they're rated. So if they only have a 2 septic bathroom vent system in there, okay, give them 6. If they really have a 4 design, if they want that 12 people, then they gotta go out and redo their septic system. That's the way you wanna write the article. You wanna write it so that they can get there.
I don't know. I'm not in favor of that premise to make people that have, and there's a lot that have expanded, to go out and spend $20,000, so that they can claim they've got 4 bedrooms.
Well,
I think it's not all about you, John.
No, it's not about me at all. It's about the people on the lake. This is what the problem is the lake houses,
Yeah.
okay? And then
That's where some of
you
it
want to then write the regulation just for lake houses. Why bother regulating all the other houses in this? If you want to write a draconian resolution, go after just the lake house, go after the problem. But don't expand it to the whole town, which nobody else has a problem. No one else has a septic system problem with vacation rentals. The only people who have a problem are the ones who are right there on the lake, because the houses were built too close to the lake and the lots are too small. Just narrow the problems of that. Don't we have a separate zoning for lakefront properties? Don't we have
It's called residential, and it
residential.
It includes a lot more than just the lakes.
I'm just saying is narrow it down. That's the problem. If the residential is the problem, then narrow down the zoning ordinance to just the residential. And forget about the rest of it.
Actually.
I don't know if this conversation is maybe a little bit horse before the cart, because as I'm reading it, well, it says that the conditional use permit shall take into consideration blah, 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 which maybe is where this like 2 per bedroom argument is coming from. It doesn't specifically say limited to 2 per bedroom. So I don't know if this conversation is something that would be outlined in the regulations that the board would adopt if it's passed. But as I'm reading it right now, it doesn't necessarily limit to per bedroom or
That is true.
anything.
That's true. But it's
So-
the unknown.
Yeah.
You're voting for the unknown.
So.
You're voting for that. We hope that rational minds will make a reasonable answer.
Well, it
You're
seems the
voting-
regulations would also have to go through public hearing process.
Correct.
So I guess you're right, John, in that even if 1,000 people showed up in this room and said, we want 25 maximum or, 2 per bedroom plus two extra or whatever it's gonna be, that the board could ignore all of that and pass whatever regulations they want. So, I don't know,
And they have.
I hear
And they
your
have
argument,
argument.
is what I'm saying, but I don't know that this
Right.
says one way or the other.
The argument they would have is, oh, geez, it's only two, you can only get two people per bedroom, septic system. The fundamental design goes all the way down to that basic issue is what is the septic system that's on that house site? Not is, if you happen to have a 4-bedroom site and have a big old house that's out in the woods in Ridge, a 3-acre lot, that now they have to conform to this 6 or 4 or some kind of a de minimis number simply because we passed an ordinance that affected the whole town rather than focusing on the problem, which is lakefront properties.
Well, it's not just all lakefront properties. There's been issues in other places. So, that's why it's in general provisions. It's not
Well,
zoning
I
specific.
mean, ultimately, I thought the objective of the short-term rentals was not regulation for the sake of regulation, but was to protect neighbors, right? So,
But we can only do that partly. The Board of Selectmen need to do it.
but,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't think it's totally fair to ask people to vote, like you said, put it to vote for something that they don't know. That would be, in a lot of respects, unwise for them. Even if you trust the judgment, it's like, well, if you don't know, like, how do you vote on something you don't know? Like, literally, how do you make a decision on that? But then, to your point, like, I don't like the idea, which I'm agreeing with you on, if of requiring somebody to upgrade a system that's not needed, that's just like spending money. The system's working, it's working. Why would I spend money to expand a system that's working? And it's not in my benefit to go and break my system. Like, it's not like that's somebody else's problem.
I'm not saying that they'd have to spend money. What I'm saying is, if they really only had a 2-bedroom system, they really only, and it works.
And it works for a 4-bedroom.
Well,
No, it does.
it seemingly works for the 4-bedroom, okay. But that, are we gonna say is, at what point, where do we draw the line on how important septic size is for someone to be able to rent a property? No one's saying they can't have all those people in the house. It's about whether they can do a vacation.
I
That's
think,
the catch.
yeah, I think the biggest problem is the state has set a really bad precedence in the not requiring septic systems to go underground. That's all they require is a design get done. And where this really came to a head was with the ADU discussion, where they wanted to say ADUs by right, 2 per property, but they don't require the septic to get installed. It's like you can go from a 3-bedroom house to 6 bedrooms on the same system. And that's what they were proposing, and it's like, I'm going, you know, septic
I
systems,
can't argue with it all, because I did vote against it.
I know, septic systems don't get inspected.
I don't believe the state should have any business getting involved in local zoning.
Yeah, well, that they're in, they're already in.
And I hear you, but, you
Yeah.
know, and the good news is they're creating a new committee, and Richard Taxi is the realtor in Troy, and pushing him to be, because he hugely understands this problem. And I'm hoping that he will be the chair of that committee, and we can get some of this resolution. All I'm saying is, I'm not forcing anybody to put in that system, okay? But that they shouldn't have the illusions that they should be able to rent this property if they don't actually have enough septic system design by state, whatever. I mean, you could say it's a miracle the septic system works fine. It's a miracle. But at the end of the day, if you're gonna use the septic system size as a governor, as a regulator, as the numeric multiplier to how many people you have in, then you gotta either be all in on it or not.
But it doesn't say that, John, it says, shall take into consideration adequate septic. It doesn't say it shall be based on, it says it shall take it into consideration.
And that's just opening up for the court case. But you're just a bit,
No, because this is the ordinance, the
The court
regulations.
case will be when the town comes out with a regulation and it has to deal with this issue that we're talking about right now, which, what's the multiplier of the septic size?
Are you saying it invites a court case because it's vague?
Well,
Or subjective?
people, well, I mean, I would say we probably invite people to want to repeal the statute if we really were to hold to, four people for a 2-bedroom septic system. Okay, that if you're gonna use that, what I would say is, you're better off not using the septic system as an issue. You're better off saying, how many people you're gonna have per bedroom. And stick with that. Forget about the septic,
Forget about the septic, so they just,
convinced me why the septic system is a problem because it is so intermittently enforced across the town. So I would get back to saying is you use the multiplier of how many people, and then if someone really can say, I've got 4 separate bedrooms on a 2-bedroom septic system, and I don't have a problem, right? That's fine, because the way you just told me was, if they did have a septic problem, then the town could force them to change the septic system.
no, the state actually does
Well,
that.
the state will enforce it, okay?
Yeah.
So if you have that.
State shuts it down.
If there's a problem, I'm just saying is, don't use septic design as your multiplier for how many people can stay in.
I see his point. But it comes back down to, limits on occupancy. That's what it's gonna come down to. Because, I mean, I see your point, but at the same time, any other limit on occupancy is equally subjective.
It absolutely. But, and that's what I say, whether you can say three-room or 4-room. I started at 4, Roberta said to me, how about 3? And because we're gonna treat children as half. And to me, a typical bedroom rental situation for us is the queen size bed, husband and wife, and then we have this full-size bed, it's a couch, and they have 2 kids. Okay, three per room is a great number, it's understandable, people get their arms around it, and I would support this ordinance for the group.
So then we get down to semantics, 3 per bedroom. Do you know what a bedroom is, John?
I know that in Massachusetts, you have to have a closet.
No, you do not.
Okay.
That's
So
absolutely untrue.
No,
how many square feet?
in Vrbo and Airbnb, their regulation about what is a bedroom,
Mhm.
doors,
A door?
Door, it has to be
outside-
opposed, has to be a room that has privacy.
It has to have a door, it has to have an outside egress, it has to have.
We're getting,
has
it's
to
getting
have-
crazy here.
No,
We're getting
I know.
crazy, it's getting like.
No, well, wait a minute, the reason I'm mentioning this, square footage, 70. 70 square foot is a bedroom
Okay,
by law.
I don't know
So
what
that's-
it is, that's not.
That's why
I
I
don't know.
have issues with putting it in the ordinance.
I'm just telling you, Roberta,
70
you want,
square feet's a bedroom.
Roberta, do you wanna get this done? You wanna get something passed? All I'm saying to you is just put the 3 per bedroom.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Well, then I'm just telling you is, think about it.
3
You
per
can get
bedroom
this-
is now totally disregarding septic.
But if the septic fails, then the house is gonna get shut down, right? The state's gonna shut the house down. So don't worry about that. Don't worry, you just convinced me of that. You sold me on that concept. So I'm
But
just
no,
saying,
I would have to agree.
The homeowner's not gonna want to fail any.
Yeah, you're not gonna wanna blow your septic stuff, so.
The problem is people that come are not familiar with septic systems that necessarily do rent little vacation
if they
properties.
smell shit, they're gonna call.
Yeah, no, they stand in the shower for half an hour. It's just,
Actually,
If the issue at its heart is, that you think that people might not vote for this because they don't know what they're voting for.
correct.
Perhaps the best solution would be to have a draft regulation as well, even if it's not being voted on, so people know what they're voting for. So that they know that it's going to be 2 people per bedroom or 3, or whatever it's going to be. And if you guys have those public hearings before March, people would at least know. And then you could leave this as is and have those discussions during those public hearings. And like I said, I don't know if you need to have them after this vote goes in, or if you could hold public hearings on them and then approve them after the zoning articles are voted on. But that may solve the problem of whether or not this gets on the ballot, and let people know what the potential implications are. That would be my suggestion.
yeah, no, we discussed, trying to get a draft, but it wasn't gonna be at the same time this was done a few weeks ago. It's like, because they're gonna take some time.
Yeah, and I understand.
No, I think that
But if
we can
that's-
talk about doing
If you
that.
think like that might make the difference between this passing or not, I think that's probably the best way.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about putting anything absolute in here because it can't be adjusted by the planning.
Yeah, but to her point, though, to have a set of regulations that would go
Oh, I
for the
agree.
site plan review to go along with this concurrently, I think would clarify it immensely. And, I see your point, but I see John's point too, that, the septic load is the septic load, but, I think it's limiting the occupancy based on like one thing is probably gonna be a hard sell.
Mhm.
And that one thing, it didn't occur to me until you brought it up, but that word septic might be that one hill that we're all probably not gonna survive.
You're gonna die.
But I also agree with her that, having at least a draft regulation, a list of things, boom, 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 this is what we consider under site plan review, this is what we consider for conditional use permit. Might be a good idea.
Yeah, the site plan part, it's not gonna be much different than what it is. It's gonna just be, I see a very short section specific to, that have to go into site plan.
So it's gonna be under the conditional use portion.
Yes.
I think it's, as Calvin and I both said, we don't have the punch list. When someone comes to Al and says, I wanna do a short-term rental, I'm gonna buy this property, or whatever it happens to be. Al's gonna say, you need to do this, and this, and you'll be good. Right now, we have SIPO, we have 2 sentences that say you can do whatever you want, it's at our discretion, and this board might be totally different in 4 years. And we need to have the punch list, just like Ashley saying, Kelly and I both have said that more than once, we are not ready to do this without the detail. It's not just septic. It's trash, noise, hours, it's everything. And all the other towns that I've read have really detailed regulations on this. And you're welcome to do it all you want. You gotta do this check, and you're good. And we don't have that. And we're gonna be in the same boat.
Yeah, but we can't control, some of those things have to be done by the Board of Selectmen. Yeah, they aren't zoning. You know, we can do.
But then we're not ready because the Board of Selectmen haven't even discussed it. How's that?
No, it's been brought up several times to them. Yeah, so, anyway.
Ashley was the
Yeah,
question.
last thought, if you do get to putting together some regulations or ideas, you could also come up with some sort of split the baby situation where it doesn't have to be a hard maximum or like based on the septic system. You could do like 2 per bedroom or the max that, you know, the septic system allow, whichever is greater, whichever is lesser. Something of that sort, which might solve some of those issues, in terms of like, but like that could be part of the conditional use process, I'm assuming it would be.
So, anybody else? John?
Okay. I've done this a little bit over my last 4 years, okay? We're at a moment where theoretically this is open for amendment. Okay? And I think, you know, adequate parking, you know, I still think it should say, specifically say on-site parking, but that's fudgy enough. I'm really getting down to just one phrase. That is the maximum. And I'm telling you that you could pass this ordinance right now, and I will do everything might possible and let everybody know that I think this was a grand compromise. It was well thought out, and it was with the best intention, that if you just say occupancy of 3 people per day.
How about up to?
I think that should.
You can certainly do up to, but that's a fuzzy that bureaucrats don't like when they have to get someone to do the checklist. So you'll say is up to means now, it can be adjusted by the rules. I'm just saying is putting this one number in, the rest of everything else.
No, if it's up to.
I'm just saying this is the.
You want up to 3 per bedroom,
Per bed.
then leaving in adequate septic, that it goes
Absolutely.
back to your
Absolutely. Adequate septic.
4-bedroom house with 2-bedroom septic.
I'm just saying, that too is a theoretical term for septic designs, okay? But
So
what we
that's
have
why I say
discussed
it's
today,
compromise
if you
between
have
bedrooms
fully
and septic.
convinced me is hugely fussy in terms of, what's in this system. And the thing about it is, someone can say, well, I know this is a 3-bedroom system, and I said, I know this too. And we're gonna go back to the state, and we'll find out the records are little, and I've heard stories that the records are not good, they're not well kept. And what the actual septic in place was not necessarily filed.
I mean, the way I kind of look at this, at the language, taking into consideration adequate septic, if someone were to come to my office and say, hey, here's my site plan for a short-term rental. I have a 3-bedroom house and I've got 25 people coming. That right there gives me the leeway to say, wait a minute, you're gonna blow up your septic system. And then it's not so much me saying, you can't do it because you're gonna blow up your septic system. It's more initiating a dialogue. Hey, you're gonna blow up your septic system.
Maybe not. I've I had a house with a 2-bedroom septic system, and we had 15 people staying there often.
But I-
Never a problem.
I like.
Well,
the-
they were all
I like the
family.
two-person.
It was rack 'em and stack 'em. They were all family. Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, we never had an issue.
I'm urging you just to put this amendment in, and you can always remove it out, you can always, we can, going forward, I was just saying, at this moment, if you do this, I think you have a good compromise that is well thought out, and that you can argue, and that, we can still, get at the, when we do deliberative session, can't you amend this thing again in a deliberative session?
This is deliberative session.
So if the town deliberative budget session does not include any ordinances. Okay.
This is deliberative. for
If you want to
zoning.
sit on, if you want to sleep on it, it's fine.
No, we can't.
I'm just for you,
I
Roberto.
like that.
Go
I
for
say we, water supply adequate, we could even add on-site parking. Maximum occupancy of up to 3 people per bedroom.
I agree.
You're looking at me for.
You're the
Second
naysayer.
motion.
You're the naysayer.
Second motion.
I'll get this in.
All regulations
Wait a minute.
from all these other.
So wait,
towns.
okay, wait, adequate on-site
We're not even in.
parking,
I'd say, water supply.
maximum occupants, can you please stop?
I didn't say anything.
And
He was talking. The person you're talking to.
Water supply, adequate on-site parking, maximum occupancy of up to 3 people per bed.
to John's point about children, because I know that one of the things that they recommended counting children under what age was it, is half?
I think it was 12. Was it 12?
But if the age breakup, that was, as I told you, the
I can
problem with
remember.
children, the problem with children is who's a child and who's not. Okay, so that's why I would not go there, that's why
Okay.
3.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it was actually specified in a couple of regulations.
Yeah,
Some
up
did
to,
do, some.
so, maximum occupancy of up to 3 per bedroom. Okay. The other thing is, life safety inspections, which, people poo-poo them, but all rental properties are supposed to have them annually. And since we have no record of rental property, what's being rented, they're not being done. And I think it's kind of scary that they're
It's a
not.
liability on the home. Liability on the home.
Well, but people don't even know they're supposed to be done. Okay, so I have a motion to do modifications to Article 3S by adding on-site to parking and of up to 3 per bedroom after maximum occupancy. Do I have a second?
Second.
You made a motion.
Oh.
I just
I
read it.
made it and I seconded.
Yeah, I know, I said I have a motion.
Show on the road.
Okay, well, yeah. So do I have a second?
Second.
Kim? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm good.
Yay.
Staying.
So that's 3-1.
You can vote for yourself.
Abstaining?
Go ahead, vote.
You're gonna abstain?
Sure, I'll vote.
I was gonna say you have no opinion?
I don't have to recommend it, but I can vote for the.
5-0.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, this is gonna require, this is, I think, more than, I don't know.
Wait, Roberta, you said 5-0? Didn't
I
you say
said-
nay?
I said A.
Oh,
Okay, all right. So that's like, I get it, so I'm fine. This will require another public hearing, so we'll have to do that at the end, as far as posting that one. Post. Okay, are you in favor of the adoption, I'm not gonna read this. To amend the phase development ordinance by adding the word development and developments after the word subdivisions, where it appears in the ordinance to reflect that not all developments of residential units are subdivisions, to remove "are subdivisions that" from the first sentence and to revise the phasing schedule. To read, this article shall apply to all major subdivision development applications filed with the Ridge Planning Board, major subdivisions developments, and that's where "our subdivisions" that got scratched. Create 4 or more new dwelling units. And then the phasing schedule has been revised by, basically, we took out the first line and moved everything up. So between 2 to 5, not phased, 6 to 10 is 2 years, and you do half each year, 11 to 15, 3 with a third each year, 16 to 20 is 4 years and 25% each year, 21 to 40, 5 years, 20% a year, over 40, 6 to 7 years and 16%. The rest of throughout there's more in the ordinance where developments will be added behind subdivisions. It doesn't change anything. Why? The planning board determined that this ordinance was too restrictive. They thought this still would allow for building at a modest rate. Any discussion? Questions? Okay, next. To amend Article 2011 by adding the words "with permanent provisions" to the first sentence and adding "this use shall not be deemed to include such transient occupancies as hotels, motels, rooming, boarding houses, or short-term rentals." To read, dwelling unit, 1 or more rooms, including cooking facilities and sanitary facilities in a structure designed as a single unit for occupancy with permanent provisions for living and sleeping purposes. This use shall not be deemed to include such transient occupancies as hotels, motels, rooming, boarding houses, or short-term rentals. This is also a suggested addition to make our definition clear after court cases regarding similar cases where the language was considered vague and unclear. Nothing? Next, to amend Article 20, this is definitions again, by adding new definitions and the renumbering of this section as needed. Short-term rental, any individually or collectively owned single-family house or dwelling unit or any unit or group of units in a condominium, cooperative, or timeshare or owner-occupied residential home or part thereof that is offered for a fee for less than 30 consecutive days for transient occupancy. Transient occupancy, temporary lodging of less than 30 days. I knew somebody's going to ask what that means. New definitions are needed for the proposed zoning ordinance regarding short-term rentals. Okay. No questions, no comments, no nothing. Okay, back to we need to number these. So does everybody want to leave them except the one Article 3S, which is going to have to be posted for another hearing next month? Do you want to number them the order they're in? Or do you want to put the short-term rental in a different place, or just number them as they are? I think the definitions should be last, just so, they're all together.
That's how they're laid out now, right?
Yes,
So we just mark those there.
yeah, so we can actually leave them and leave short-term rental where it is. But just, we have to post that for public hearing. Okay, I think that instead of voting on recommending these, I would prefer that we have a fuller board. You know, it's like, with, Doug and Max here, so, but basically, I'm gonna number these 1, 2, 3, 4, where'd it go? Okay, so I'm gonna do this really easily. I'm gonna make a motion to post amendment number 4 to public hearing for can you believe it? January 7th. With the changes to the language,
That's 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
It's gonna be a shorter meeting.
January 2nd, 2025 at 7 p.m.
January 2nd.
Yeah, 7th. Yeah, 7th.
Well, she said 7th first, and then.
Yeah, I know, this is 7th at 7, yeah.
7 and 7.
So I need a second.
Second.
All in favor of posting? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? So 500. Okay. So, I'm gonna make a motion to post to the warrant for March, articles, amendment number 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7 as presented. Let's not all jump up. That's everything but the short-term rental. I need a second.
Second.
So, do you understand? So we had the public hearing on these, and now there's a motion to actually post them to the warrant as in the present form.
Yep.
For one, not,
1 to 3, 5 to 7.
correct, thank you.
Kim did.
Is there any issue with not having taken recommendation votes?
We will recommend at the next public hearing, we will make the recommendations on these at the next public hearing.
Well, I'm saying if you're posting them to the warrant.
We're posting them to the warrant. We don't have to have a recommendation until the warrant's printed. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 500. No, we'll be voting on our recommendation. I think, I can't remember when that has to be posted, but it doesn't have to be done simultaneously with posting them to the warrant. We're done. I think, wait a minute, where's the agenda?
Officers, subcommittees.
There haven't been any, do you have anything from the planning? Oh, one thing from the planning office. I didn't know, we get, really quick. Last meeting, there was a discussion about the straight road at, Saybrook.
Yep.
Yeah, well, Matt's reconsidered because it's gonna be a dogfight with DES, so he's going to come in with new plans, and he actually looked at the lots, and he likes the lots better. No, just, he said it pulls the houses further from the industrial property that's behind it. It pulls them away from it. He says that actually the lots are really gonna look good.
So he's coming back in with a new application.
For that half. Yep,
For a whole new application.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he's, there's some redesigning on the road, but he said he was willing to, move the road. That he said, after a lot of consideration with DES, that it just wasn't worth it. All right.
So is he trying to go with it to, put a duplicate wetland somewhere else? Is that his?
They don't do it here. It has to be a massive thing.
They won't do it, huh?
No, he couldn't believe it. He
He didn't
said,
presented that to them, because he hadn't, he's been here.
yeah, Graz did, it was like, he said it was gonna cost him so much money in costs and court costs. He said the way the DES is, you don't get to talk to a committee. It's one person says it, that's it. There's just no budging them. So, anyway,
And they don't forget.
anything from you? Anything other, we're out of here.
Sure.
9:30. Thanks for coming.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I can tell. I don't know if you got everything, so.
Tried, so this is up.
Hey, how was your camping trip in the snow?
I